Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Now I have finally fully explored chapter 9.1 beta, and this video is kind of my thoughts and summary of the experience thus far. I have yet to give official feedback to Kabam by filling the survey, which I will, but ultimately, for the most part, I think it was fine. I don't think it was any better than Act 8 stuff. Actually, kind of think it was slightly worse. But we do have several new things to address, some pain and problem points that I think Kabam should look into, and generic worry, I guess you could say. But for most part, if Kabam released this content as is, I think it'd be all right. I think there can be some improvements made that, again, are some things that I will get worried about. But it's definitely, fine-ish. Kabam's definitely going to get some data from the way we play, even though in beta, obviously, everybody boosts and just blitzes through things, which is one of the bigger things here. The health balls of the defenders are massive. Like, they are about 800 plus K on average. And that is approaching labyrinth level fight. Now, obviously, this is probably taking into consideration that we will have more 7-star rank 3s by the time we clear this. It is also taking into consideration that there are only 3 parts now. Therefore, the overall kind of like length of the content will not be as massive if it was 6 parts. But it will feel kind of sluggish, I think, if left unchanged. Because in most of these, unlike Act 7, unlike Act 8, there aren't really any attack modifying nodes, or not massively attack modifying. There are some things that let you do slightly more damage or give you like an extra unbreak or something, but they kind of have stepped back from the direction of virtually everything you do. If you play along the rules that Kabam makes, gives you like 3, 4, 500% more damage on specific things. And you could feel that. Because even when using, let's say, 6-star rank 5 Ascended Tiger on max boost, disregarding recall masteries and boosting up for that as well, the fights are still kind of long. And I don't think many people will notice it in the beta, because again, what you do in the beta is you just boost through your teeth, ideally have power back boost, recall masteries, and you just kind of run through things without, worrying too much about item use, remaining health, whether champions are recall compatible, and you just kind of go for it. Right, but when going up against, let's take a look at the random Red Guardian, 700k health Red Guardian. There's an 800k health Gambit. We have like a Deadpool here that puts taunts on you and stuff like that. That's 800k, and obviously he has damage mitigation built within himself as well through taunts and stuff. And then you need playing to the nodes. A part of me likes the direction where Kabam's going by taking away these massive attack boosts, because it always gave us like a very unrealistic sense of champions' capabilities. There were some very fun cheese lanes, yes, granted, but overall, it kind of felt already a bit cheap and gimmicky when you play through after content. So without having that many attack modifier nodes, it's going to be different, without a doubt. And if you will bring in undersized champions, it will feel long. Because at this point, again, it kind of borderline felt like you have to have the boosts on. You have to have like as high rank of a champion as possible. And even then, the fights weren't like super quick. So that is something to keep an eye out for. That is one legitimate worry that I have. But we also obviously need to address the new Scourge nodes. So in Act 8, we had the weapon nodes. Previously, we had the other new with the crossfight charges. I actually kind of forgot with my mind how they were called. But now we have Scourge. And the Scourge effectively is opponents gain increasing chances or increasingly damaging effect over time, like every 2 seconds, that have typically a couple of effects. Like in this case, when struck or landing a hit, the defender has a 5% chance for each Scourge to active on them, randomly inflict bleed or poison or rupture on you. Additionally, they gain block penetration for each Scourge charge. And then you have a couple of nodes that let you pause the Scourge charge gain and let you remove some Scourge charges. So it's kind of like all about fight managing. And I think this is the positive thing. I actually like this fight design much better than the weapons and the previous ones. I think this kind of creates in itself like a mini game within the fight where what's the best way to explain it? That you can approach several different ways. You can try and hard counter the effects of Scourge and ignore the removal process, or you can bring in suitable champions, play within the Scourge nodes themselves, and just make sure that you kind of like clear them out as the fight goes along. So I think this is more successful concept, at least to me. I wouldn't immediately kind of like push away from it. It also seemed easier to grasp, kind of like more straightforward, because once you kind of like read the first Scourge node, you know the keywords that you need to look for, and it didn't feel like I have to read everything word by word to kind of understand it. I read it once, got it, and then every time I saw a Scourge node, it felt much easier to understand in my brain. So overall, as the new added node design, I like this better. Do I think some of these nodes could be combined? Yes, absolutely. For instance, Scourge block proficiency down. There's no reason for that node to exist. They could just add an extra effect at the random dot thing or something like that. I just want to see everything in MCOC more condensed, more clear, less cluttered, because this is where we're at. This game's very old, and it's very easy to get carried away. But overall, it's still less text, easier to comprehend, and it's fine to play. It's fairly decent set combinations. It didn't feel like absolute bullshit for the most part. So I do like that. I do like that quite a bit. Now, before we talk about my personal MVPs and my personal approach, a couple of pain points or a couple of things that I hope Kuban will take a look at or address. And it's mainly just the one path, really. I think everything else was kind of fine. This one lane felt like bullshit. There is a way how to actually clear it very, very fine, but it's still going to be boring. So it's this reach within node and shadow boxing on top of buffet and on top of nimble that takes away your stun debuff duration. It's just a frustrating lane, especially until you figure it out. And there is a very simple answer to this, which I think in itself implies that there is a problem. I can understand what Kuban was going for with this node, where you dash back, you root yourself, any champion can gain true strike, then you can shut down, can't touch this, and then you can, either play within shadow boxing, whiffing your basic attacks and gaining power, or you can just play without special attacks that's slowing you down. You still need to take care of buffet node, and obviously nimble makes everything harder. It's just not very enjoyable thing. And the best way to deal with this lane is, well, APOC is very good for this, but overall, the best way to deal with this lane is bring in double Magneto House effects. Get the passive stuns, they do not get affected by nimble, and just slow play it and hit opponents while they're passively stunned. If you have some evade, countering mechanics, great. But that was by far the best and easiest way how to deal with this. And if you need to bring in double of a pre-fight champion and use that as a condition of making this path remotely enjoyable, I think this is a miss. I think the idea of this path is fine, but execution is very poor. I think either shadow boxing needs to go, or at the very least, nimble or something else has to go. It just doesn't work well. Tedious, frustrating, it's finicky, anger-inducing. It doesn't feel like it fits, I guess is the best way I could describe. Other than that, I know that there are a few other lanes that people have complained about, and honestly, I didn't find them that bad. There are a couple of annoying fights where you are required to be able to dex a few specific special attacks or play with a perfect counter. Only one of the bosses was somewhat challenging. Honestly, the rest of the bosses felt kind of like extremely unremarkable and easy. The only boss that was really annoying was Shocker. Actually used some items on this one as well. And this is a problematic fight. This was by far the hardest boss. And when it comes to a hard boss, I genuinely don't mind that much, because you can chip away at him. You need to do this boss only once, opposed to how it used to be in earlier story content, where if you had a tough boss fight, you had to do it 6 times and became a massive roadblock. So at large, I think most people will object to this boss fight or complain about it, or point this out as a really tough fight. And I think it's fine to have an occasional tough fight in a quest, especially since you don't need to do it like 3, 4, 5, 6 times anymore. So Shocker is definitely the hardest boss fight. There was like a lane in 915 or 916 that was also quite frustrating, but for the most part manageable. I did not like seeing passive heal block in one of these quests as well. That was very frustrating. But all that said and discussed, I think with mainly changing that one lane, for the most part, I'm willing to give the content a go and a pass. I think they did a fine job. I do think that they are going in a new direction. I am worried about the size of health pools because it is getting more tedious. And when it comes to the MVPs, I am not absolutely going to put, some sort of KT1 guarantee on what I'm about to say, because I myself also approached this quest in a nukish manner for quite a few of the parts. And therefore, the MVPs by far were CGR with Cosmic Power Back boost and recalls and boosts, and he just nuked, a third of the chapter. It was very fast, very efficient. It was fast enough to disregard several of the nodes, like in Scourge nodes, where they would build up some annoying effects. And yeah, he did a great job. CGR was the single biggest MVP for me. The second MVP for me was Silk, quite similarly with the reason that she could just go in an absolute nuke mode, and you can play ridiculously aggressive with Silk, kind of like not betting out opponent's special attack. If they throw it, and then go into the nuke mode once you boost up as well. So Silk was tremendously helpful. I actually also relived some old school days, and I brought in Ghost Trinity. That was also quite fun, because, tech power back boosts, Ghost, Wasp, Hood, you can tank level 3s if you have to, and you can have a bit of fun. So definitely was quite pleased to do that as well. But yeah, those were like largely the MVPs. I also obviously brought in some other champions. Brought in Lady Deathstrike and Warlock, put in some work. And let's go to the other classes. I used Tigra a fair amount, Chavez a fair amount, some Photon, some Archangel. Hate was MVP for some of the lanes as well, where you can just use Cold Snap to shut down the Wade. I think it was Eben Flow and a Wade node. Used a little bit of Mr. Sinister, but those are definitely the main ones. If I have to kind of like give people a rank up recommendation with Act 9 in mind, which in general I don't do. I think whatever champions you have will be just about fine for story content. Then CGR was definitely CGR, Kate, and Silk would be the rank up recommendations for future Act 9.1 story content. Well, that has been my feedback. Look forward to hearing feedback from you. Which champions were the most helpful for you? How did you find 9.1 beta? And I'll catch you guys soon. Bye-bye.